Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and if you haven't already, I did part 1 and part 2 where I talked about the books that I got that were series and trilogies and duologies because of Booktube and Booktubers specifically. So, excuse me, sorry. Now I'm going to talk about books that were that I got from Booktube because of Booktube and Booktubers that are standalones. So first, I'm going to mention Heartless by Marissa Meyer. Now, I already was a fan of Marissa Meyer, because I read the Lunar Chronicles way before Booktube, and I had already given them away, actually. So I decided, because I kept hearing about them and I was reminded of how much I love them, and then I read Stars Above, and then finally I decided to rebuy them. So I already bought those, but then people like Haley and Bookland, and I can't remember who else, got this book and talked about how great this book was, and how much they loved Heartless, and how great it was, and how much they loved Marissa Meyer, and how she's a great writer. And so I finally decided to get it, and I loved it. It was awesome. It was so much fun. I love this origin story of the Queen of Hearts. It's so fascinating. That's what this is an origin story of the Queen of Hearts, and you know it's not going to end happy for her, because, you know, it's the origin story of the Queen of Hearts. So now she's kind of a brat, an evil brat. But I love this, and Stephenie Meyer is so good. I had so much fun reading this, and it was just so fun. And I'm so glad that My Naked Hardback has this, because naked hardbacks don't usually have pretty cover designs. I mean, their publishers are doing that more and more, and I'm so glad that they are, because sometimes when I do get hardbacks, they're so boring when you take off the cover, you know, the dust jacket. So I always keep on the dust jacket. But, I love this book, and like I said, I think it was Haley in Bookland that was the reason I decided to buy this book. I would have loved to get the book that came in the subscription box. I don't remember which one it was, but it might have been like Owl Crate, where they had the white, the background was white instead of this black color. But I did see the paperback in white at Books A Million, which was so awesome. But I was like, no, you know what? I already bought this one, so I'm not going to buy that one. As pretty as that one is. I mean, I thought about it, but nope. So next is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norwell. This is a fantasy set in the 1800s. So yeah, if you watch my previous videos, I mentioned that I love historical mixed with fantasy. I love this kind of books where it's set in a historical time period and there's fantasy elements added into that time period. Not just medieval or Renaissance, because they do that all the time, medieval and Renaissance. Like, you have the King Arthur story and all that. But when it's after that time period, that's what I mean when I say historical fiction with fantasy. Like The Diviners, for instance, which I did love. I just haven't gotten back into it. But, I don't know which booktuber it was. Maybe it was Reagan. I don't know. So how great this book is, and how much fun it is. And this is another one where I've read some of it already, and I love this book. It was so much fun. So far that I've read, it's so interesting, and it's been an interesting read so far with the little bit I've read. And like I said, I don't know, but I can't, this is a short chapter. But, it is so cool because this book, like, has footnotes in it and stuff. You know, it's told like a textbook. But I think it's so cool, and it's like fantasy and two magicians competing for have very different ideas of how to do magic in this world and everything, and So, like I said, I don't know who it was that recommended this, but next, this is more of an author recommendation, and this is Donna Tartt, and this is one of her books, The Goldfinch. I have not read this one. I have read The Secret History, which I have here in this pile somewhere. I don't know where it is. I'll have to find it. But I have not read this one, and a lot of booktubers talk about how great, how much they love Donna Tartt, how great of a writer she is, and I just loved reading The Secret History. That was so awesome, and that's one of the few books in here that I've actually finished. And it's like it was so great, and I definitely want to read this one. And this was one of the ones I actually got at the bookstore, so I got it for like $3 or $4, so it wasn't that expensive for this nice edition, this nice floppy edition. People always talk about floppy books, and I don't have a lot of floppy books, but this is a floppy book, so that's kind of cool. So yeah, I don't know who it was that recommended this, but okay. I'll come across The Secret History soon enough. So this particular one was recommended is because Jen from Thoughts on Tomes, one of my newest favorite booktubers, talked about this book. And back in 2017, around March, she read this book in March because it's called Middle March. See, pun intended. It's the way she talks about the story and reviews it. It really got me interested in it. Like, I love watching her reviews. And I was going to buy The Female's Persuasion, which was, I think, on the Women's Prize long list. And she talked about how great and reviewed that book. And I was definitely kind of interested. And she kind of got me interested in it. But it was $28. So I resisted the urge. But I did go on Amazon Prime. I went on Amazon and I looked. And it's a Prime product on Amazon, and it is a little bit cheaper, so I emailed my mom and suggested for future, I said, this is a book I have my eye on, and it's a Prime product, so no charge for delivery. So I was like, yes. So I sent it to her, kind of a hint, because she's actually out of town right now, so, and like I said, it's cheaper online. She's actually visiting my sister. She gets to go see my nephews, but I couldn't go with her because I have to work tomorrow. And I volunteer to work on Wednesday, too. So, just the way she talks about this has just got me really interested in it. And I have read a little bit so far. And it's definitely very interesting. This is not a good bookmark for this book. Especially when the book is old and already falling apart. So, I might change that bookmark now if I take that traveling with me. So, next, Rosebud. This is a Phantom of the Opera retelling. And this was one of those books that was in one of those book boxes. And a lot of booktubers talk about how great. Again, a lot of booktubers talked about this. Some of them, like maybe, I can't remember her name. Oh, Abigail Haley. I think she was the one that mentioned that she didn't really like it. She was kind of disappointed. I think it was her. If I'm wrong, I apologize if she ever comes across this video. I apologize if it wasn't you who said you didn't like it. But, who said that you said you were disappointed. I don't remember who it was, but I remember recently someone saying that. And I said to myself, even if she doesn't like it, I'm going to check it out either way. But, because actually, I had already bought it when I watched that video, and I remember her mentioning, I didn't like it. I was like, damn it, why'd you have to say that? And it was like, you know what, who cares? You guys aren't dictating what books I read. Saying this, says the girl making videos on books that she bought because of Booktube and Booktubers. But, yeah, and I love the musical version of Phantom of the Opera, and I actually bought the book. And I bought a book that was about the origin story of Phantom himself, of Eric, which is his name. And, it's not mentioned in the musical, but his name is actually Eric. And, And then I bought the original novel, which looks a lot shorter than I realized. I did not realize that it was that short. So now I have this. So I might put those books together. I don't know. Oh, here is The Secret History, which is a book I finished. By Donna Tartt. So this is the first Donna Tartt book, and I love her writing. And like I said, I don't know who it was that recommended this book to me, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was so much fun. And like I said, it was one of those books I heard about on Booktube, and I went ahead and bought it and decided to read it. Actually, at first, when I was, I got it from the library. I bought it from the library. My mom suggested to do that first, but both this book and it used to be are super long books. So it's like, you know what? No, I'm not. I don't care what mom says. I'm gonna buy it from the book. I'm buying both books from the bookstore. So I did, and I read this one and I love it. And I'm still reading East of Eden, and I'm enjoying that too. But that was one I already knew about, so hence why it's not in this pile. Okay, so next. Okay, so this one was more an author recommendation. A lot of booktubers talk about Neil Gaiman and love his work. And I knew about this TV series, and I saw this at BJ's when we were visiting my sister. So I went ahead and bought it. And I read a little bit, but the bookmark just fell out, so I should probably start over again anyway. So I have this. So this was, like I said, this was an author recommendation. And I think it was Leslie from Words of a Reader who said you probably shouldn't start with this book if you want to start with Neil Gaiman. But I'm going to start with it. And we're all different anyway, so. Okay. Alright. Next is these next two books, Station 11 and Shadow of the Wind. Again, these were books that a lot of people talked about on Booktube. So I guess there are some books here that I've bought because of the hype. But is it really buying a book because of the hype if you buy it much later, a couple of years later, and you just happen to see it at the bookstore and you're like, oh, a lot of people on Booktube talked about this book, so I'm gonna check it out. So, let's see. This sucks. See, you can tell it's from an used bookstore because I don't know if there was a sticker on it that I took off, a price sticker, or they did that when they shelved it at the bookstore, but it's all sticky here like a price sticker here. But so this one, and then I heard about this one and then I saw this one there as well. You know who she looks like? I think that's the author. She kind of reminds me of. Oh, I know. If you watched my other video, I think the person that probably recommended the Raven Cycle that got me to get into it might have been I could picture her, and this author looks like her a little bit. She's into a lot of anime. She has dark, short hair. I can't remember her name. I can picture her, but I can't remember her name. It will come to me. But this girl actually looks a little like her. This author. But this is a post-apocalypse. After the apocalypse has happened. And this one is this kid finds a book. But he is, this great book, and, he finds out that a lot of people are trying to track down this author's books and getting rid of them. So, yeah, and plus, this is also in Barcelona. I haven't read a lot of books set in places other than Europe and the US. So there's those two. Like I said, I don't know who, next, we have here The Enchanted. And it's blurbed by Erin Morgenstern, who wrote The Night Circus, which I need to reread that because I read that book and got it long before Booktube ever popped on my radar. And I really loved it, but I definitely want to reread it. At first, I didn't know if I would be interested in this book or not, because it's set kind of in a jail cell, a prison, I think. So, it has a inscribed. It has a dedication. But, so I guess, yeah, it doesn't, even if there's a little bit of writing in here, I guess they'll still, as long as it's still readable and stuff, it doesn't get in the way of your being able to read the book in the booklet, then you can have stuff like that. But, I wasn't sure but I went ahead and bought it because it was only like $3 or $4 at the bookstore. So I went ahead and bought it. And I'm going to check it out. And like I said, this, again, well, I guess by now you know that these are Booktube recommendations, so I'm not gonna say that anymore. Oh, that was Enchanted by Renee Denfield. The next one is, and this is one I've started, actually, and that is Night Film by Marisha Pessl, and she just put another book out. I don't remember what it's called at the moment, but, yeah, this is kind of, I think this is kind of a psychological suspense thriller, I think. Like, a journalist is investigating this very unique filmmaker, and his daughter, who was in a lot of his films, commits suicide. But he suspects there's something more to it than that. And the little bit I read, the filmmaker kind of tried to get rid of him and was feeling threatened by him, so the journalist loses his job, and that's what motivates him to keep investigating. And it also has a little bit of mixed media in it, so. And the little bit I've read so far was kind of interesting. I mean, I heard some negative opinions on it, but what book doesn't have negative opinions? So I'm going to read that one. So I'm going to continue reading that at some point. Next, and the only book in this particular pile that I've actually finished here is, well, no, I finished Heartless and Secret History too. Oh, and I have another pile, but I haven't finished any. I haven't even started any of those. Well, no, that's not true. I've started some of them. But anyway, Circe. This was a book because Jean from Bookish Thoughts talks about how great this book is, and I wanted to, because with the way she talks about ancient Greek and Greek mythology and all that, I wanted to be able to read that. But I don't know if I'll ever be able to read books like the Odyssey. I tried it once. It's a bit challenging, and I didn't have the patience for it. But, this is about the witch from the Odyssey that the Odysseus meets. And she's only in that book for a little bit. But, so this kind of expands on her history. We learn more about her in this book. And I think Madeline Miller takes the little bits of information that we got in the Odyssey and puts it and expands on it a little bit. And I really enjoyed it. I am glad I listened to Jean from Bookish Thoughts and got this book. This was so fun, and like I said, if you are kind of interested in mythology and you're not sure, now I know there's Rick Riordan. He writes about Greek mythology and stuff for much younger readers, but I personally wanted to read an older, and maybe this stems from maybe because I want to read a book that's more mature, not about teenagers, which is funny because I give my friend Terry a hard time about not wanting to read YA, because there are YA, first of all, I think people already have a negative opinion about YA, so I get very defensive and protective of YA fiction. And I get kind of annoyed when she's like, oh, I can't relate to the main characters because I'm not a teenager. And I will still read YA. You know, I read YA fantasy. I mean, in the first part 1 of this Fallen Kingdom series is a YA, so I will read YA fantasy. Because, they're not always about teenagers. Or they're teenagers dealing with adult things, like in Fallen Kingdoms. But I guess in a way, I kind of have my limits too. Like, yes, I said that also in that video, that first part, I mentioned that I loved reading Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow, and that's middle grade. So I just don't have, at the moment, when it comes to mythology, I want to read adult books rather than middle grade, like Freak Riordan. But like I said, if you want to, I think, definitely check this out. It's really good. And I love reading about Cersei, it definitely gives you it's definitely, gives her more people appreciate more and give her more sympathy, because I know she's seen as evil in the Odyssey, or at least that's what Madeline Miller said. And I hope to read Song of Achilles soon, but I haven't got that one yet. I mean, if I come across it again at the bookstore, because I almost did, and I almost bought it, but I changed my mind, which I kind of regret now, especially since it was a hardback, and I could get it for really cheap. But if I come across it from the library, maybe I'll get in and borrow it from the library. I don't know. But I don't know, because like I said, I don't like getting longer books from the library. So, this next one I have here is one of the books I just got yesterday, which is If We Were Villains by M.L. Royal. I kept hearing about this constantly on Booktube, and I really wanted to get it. The premise sounded incredible. It kind of reminded me of The Secret History a little bit, but with Shakespeare, and it sounded like something I really wanted to read. But unfortunately, it was not at Books A Million last time I checked, until yesterday. So I put all the other books aside, and I jumped at the chance of getting this paperback edition. And like I said, I don't know who it was on Booktube, but there were a lot of people that talked about how great this book was, and the print is definitely, I like how the print is a little bit bigger than, than the other one. For the many weird and wonderful thespians whom I have had the good fortune to call my friends, I promise this is not about you. We are a weird group. If you guys don't know, a little bit of personal information about myself. I'm a thespian in my high school troupe. So I guess I'm still technically a thespian, even though I'm, no longer in that state or at that school. But I was one of the people that just I wasn't as out there as some of those people, so I was kind of more shy and secluded and kept to myself, unless, I was working with a certain person. But we are a weird bunch of people. Okay, and I cannot wait to read this. I am so excited to read this, because I have been waiting to get this book for a while. I wish I had gotten the hardback edition, but because I love the hardback cover with the skull and everything. But I'm just glad to have it, and this is so awesome. Next, these last 5 books. This one is another one that I heard quite a bit about on Facebook, on and off. I mean, not Facebook, Booktube, on and off. People talk how great it was. I remember seeing people that were reading it. And it's about a bookshop. A cute little bookshop. The little Paris bookshop. So I was like, I gotta get it. It's about a bookshop. So I'm gonna get it. It's like if You Got Mail were a book, a novel first. I feel like, and and there's a backstory in the shop around the corner that Kathleen Kelly runs in the movie. But I love this. Books about books I love it. I love reading those kind of books that are about, so. And again, as you can see, it's a hardback one because I got it from the used bookstore. so it was cheap. Of course, not all my hardback books were actually from there. Some of them are from Books A Million because I decided to splurge a little bit. Next, plus, you won't find them at the used bookstore. So, this one is actually from Books A Million. I love these decal edges. The Enchanted has decal edges too. So, this was one, people from, like, Jen from Insert Literary Pun, Jen Campbell, I think, and a couple other ones that read more of the booktubers I watch that more into the more literary type of books, the books that are considered literary, like, that aren't, like, fantasy or sci-fi or thrillers or anything like that. That's really the only difference is literary books that are considered literary are the books that aren't like a specific genre. And then you have the genre books, which are like the sci-fi, the fantasy, the thrillers, the action adventure, the horror, all those kind of books. They're separate. But it doesn't mean they're no better. It doesn't mean that they're not better. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're any less than literary fiction. But I definitely am reading more literary. I am definitely trying to read more literary fiction. Just because. Oh, I forgot another one. The Winter People. Where is that one? I don't know where that one is. The Winter People. I'll have to find that one. But that's another one. That was one. I feel bad. I want to get that one because that was one that was recommended to someone I haven't mentioned on here in these videos, and that's Jen Campbell. She was talking about. She talks about how much she loved that book, so I buy that one. But this is another one that, like, she or Insert Literary Pun, Jen or someone talked about how much they loved this book. They talk about this book. And like I said, I'm trying to read more books that have the literary label on it. So, not because I'm trying to meet a quote or anything, but just because, I want to expand my reading horizons a little bit. So, and I do kind of like these more literature-esque type books anyway. I mean, I do like them. I just don't read them a lot. So, and look at this cover. I love this cover. So this is about a woman that her husband just died, and she and her son go to this part of Scotland, and there's apparently like a legend of a powerful sea creature or something that she hears about. Something like that. I don't know. But yes, I want to read this one. And as you can see, I did start reading it a little bit because I'm starting to read more water-related books. Because, I was on my dad's boat, and then we have the public pool that we go to, so. Okay, so, I don't know where that book is. I want to find it. Because it's another recommendation book. Like I said, it was by Jen Campbell. Where is it? I don't know where it is. It's probably like down here somewhere. Like my last shelf. Oh, wait, I know where it is. That's right. It's over there. With all my American and medieval and nonfiction books. So, these last three, well, with the exception of I Captured the Castle, I think I Captured the Castle was a book talked about by Leslie from Words of a Reader. She talks about how much she loved this book and how great it was. I think it was her who talked about it. I don't remember. Or it might have been Jen Campbell. One of them. Or Mercy's books. I think it was either Jen Campbell or Leslie who talked about how great and how much I love this book. So I bought this book, and this is one of these ones where I saw it at the bookstore and was like, oh, I should get this one. My dog is scratching his ear with his foot. I love how dogs are so limber. And these last two are books by Jen from Insert Literary Pun. This is a Woman's Prize, or, no, both these, well, this was a Man Booker Prize book, and she's done reviews on this, although I think she prefers winter over autumn, but this is from this author, Allie Smith's Seasonal Quartet. She's writing, she hasn't done the one for spring, and she hasn't done the one for summer yet. But, you know, it's funny though, I blame the reason why I couldn't get into To the White House by Virginia Woolf was I blame the writing style, but it's the same writing style in this book, and I'm having no problem with this book. Maybe because it's very modern, also very modern writing style, even though it's, but I really enjoyed this, and I'm almost done, but my dog just asking, and I don't want to have any accents. So. Sorry, I don't want to risk him having an accident, so I'm gonna let him out. Where was I? Okay, but I'm really enjoying this. So far, it's about these two people from two different generations, this older man and this woman who she becomes kind of a daughter to him and takes care of him and becomes his friend and everything. It's about that relationship. And then this was a Woman's Prize winner nomination. And Jen read this one because she did a series of videos where she read all the books on the long list and on the short list and did reviews on them and made a prediction of which one she thought would win. Now, I don't know if she's going to make a video on the one that did win. I'm not sure. I don't know which one won, actually. I would like to know. But I would love for her to do a video where she talked about the winner, but maybe she doesn't have much to say about that, so that's why she's not making a video for it. Or maybe she is, and she just hasn't published it. I don't know. But yeah, she talked about this book and how much she liked it. I mean, she understands why it didn't make the short list, but she still really enjoyed it. And they can't wait to read it. So, that is the final part. Those are all my books that are standalones that are recommended to me because of Booktube. And like I said, there were a couple here that weren't here that I also Roses and The Winter People, and there might be some others over there that I have not I forgot to grab because but and also The Paying Guest. That's another one. Sarah Waters is another one. I am in the middle of reading The Paying Guest by Sarah Waters, and I have her Tipping the Velvet and The Night Watch. She's another author that was recommended that because people on Booktube talk about her. A lot of the Booktubers that I watch talk about how great she is and how much they love her writing, and Possibly Literate is one that's like me. She just started reading her books and really loves them. So she's another one that I forgot to bring over here and show you. But that one, Sarah Waters, Roses, and The Winter People are three other books that, because of Booktube, I bought them and so far I've enjoyed them. They're both all three are very good. So, are there any books that you absolutely love because Booktube recommended to you, or have you bought a lot of books because Booktube?
Do you want this cheesecake?
Yes, give me a minute. A lot of books that Booktube are there books that Booktube has recommended to you that you bought? Are you like me? Are you accumulating books because of Booktube? Anyway, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up first, and then if you haven't already, click subscribe. And much love to all my already subscribed people, and I hope you can always enjoy your reading. All right, bye.